magazine, Talking Trek. I'm here tonight with the indomitable Cristalli.
Who?
You.
Oh, me. That's who.
Yes.
Hi.
Yes. Just fresh coming off of breaking the fourth wall, and we have a story behind that, if you will. Also tonight we have Charlie Brito. Yay! Oh wait, that was me doing that. That doesn't count when I do it. Okay, yeah. You want me to do it? All right, go on three. Everybody do yay for Charlie. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yay! The delay there, right? There was like, I wonder if we should. You know? Everybody was waiting to see if I was going to do it first. And we have also rejoining us from breaking the fourth wall, we have Joe Kale, all the way from Modesto, California. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! Hey, beat you, Charlie. Joining us for the second hour is none other than Jenna Sanborn, fresh from college.
Yay!
Yay! For everybody, yay! and literally, this is what she said. She's fresh from dropping off her load, and we actually meet a truckload, so nobody go there. We have
Too late.
Nikki Martinson. Hi, Nikki!
Hi, Nikki! Yay!
Hey, Nikki! Yay! And that's all we have because my phone only holds 5 people at a time.
You know what?
All right.
I'm feeling kind of jealous, though. I didn't get any yays.
Yay!
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 Just what I always wanted, the pity yays.
That would be yay.
I guess it's better than the aw.
Before we actually get into Talking Trek, I just wanted to bring up an aside, and we're not going to squirrel onto Academy Earth. It's just an aside. In Academy Earth, I'm doing a thing where something is happening at 3 o'clock in the morning all over the North American continent. Well, just for shits and giggles, I actually looked up 3 o'clock in the morning. That's an actual thing. If you go on YouTube and you YouTube 3 o'clock in the morning, there's actually people having YouTube videos of stuff happening to them at 3 a.m. in the morning, especially with Siri. Supposedly, according to some people, you're not supposed to ask Siri questions at 3 o'clock in the morning because she gets a little weird on you.
Well, it goes back. It goes back to old folklore that 3 o'clock in the morning is the witching hour. It's kind of supposedly, if you put it in biblical or religious terms, it's the exact opposite of the Holy Trinity, which would be, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the three spirits. So it's kind of like mocking it, and that's why it's 3 o'clock in the morning or something of that nature. Like, I may not be on total with the whole thing about it, but it's always been known as the witching hour. It's supposed to be the timeline where the veil is thinnest for the spirits to come through, or something of that nature. You know what I mean?
And the person answering that is Chris Daly, who did a wrestling character called The Fallen, so of course he's going to be an expert on this.
Technically, I was the 13th apostle. Fallen was the tag team.
Fallen was the tag team? Okay. I stand corrected. What we could do is ask Siri about it and see what she has to say.
But only at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Just after 3 o'clock, exactly. So what turned into be what I thought was going to be a really cool plot point is actually a real thing. So yeah, I think that might get thrown in there a little bit, as long as CBS has never done anything at 3 a.m. in the morning, so we don't get sued.
I don't know about 3 a.m., but I did watch. I have been rewatching Star Trek Enterprise, and I know there's an episode called 11:59. So I think we have to stay away from 11:59.
11:50. What happened in that one? I don't remember that one.
I don't remember if it was Enterprise or Voyager, actually, to be honest with you. But I think they were stuck. Okay. Oh, yeah, it was Enterprise. They were stuck in a time loop.
Oh, 11:50. Okay. Well, it's funny you should mention a time loop.
Segue.
Because what happened in Star Trek Discovery this week? Time loops! Yay!
Yay! Oh.
one and the only Mr. Bud.
Now, first of all, a show of hands, and for those people listening say, DC, why do you always say show of hands when it's an obvious podcast and you can't actually see their hands? Well, because when I say show of hands, my panel knows enough to actually say out loud who saw and who didn't.
You have way too much expectation of your panel. We all raise our hands.
See that? See right there? Hello. Nope. I left my hand down. Haven't seen it. In fact, when I was doing a conference chat with the panel earlier, before we went on, not everybody has everybody else's phone number, which is something that I keep on forgetting to ask. Do you mind if I share with the panel? And so somebody was saying, wait, who's this person? Wait, who's that person? So Joe Cahill was actually identifying himself by saying, hey, this is Joe. And he said, I'm signing. So I don't think I got to actually say it in text because so many people were texting back and forth that my phone was having a convulsion. So, but Joe, when you said you were signing who you were, I literally had a vision of you like using actual hand signs saying, signing that you were Joe all the way in Modesto, California. Okay.
Well, next time just hit that little video camera instead of the message, and you can see all of us.
Well, no, I'm old. I don't want to see all of you because then if I see me back, it'll remind me I'm the oldest one on the panel. See, this is one of the reasons why I don't mind that Chris and I don't do America's Pop Culture Magazine as an actual video show on YouTube anymore, because I don't have to say look up at the monitor and remind myself that I'm old and bald now. When I used to have
we all, yeah.
Dan, after
we
all
go
the
there, I am lacking that top warming hair stuff too.
Dan, after all the years of pro wrestling we did together and all the years of podcasting from America's Pop Culture and Breaking the Fourth Wall and now Talking Trek, you really think just because we don't have video, you're safe from being reminded that you're old when I'm on the same panel as you?
Well, probably a good point.
Again, shall I bring you back to the match against the young dudes from New York where you turned around and told the guy that you've been wrestling as long as he's been in diapers, and I turned around and told him that he's been in the business as long as you've been in diapers?
Yes. Didn't you bring that up last week?
I think it was the week before, but still, I have no news stories. I have no life.
Well, actually, I can go even back further with Breaking the Fourth Wall, because you said Breaking with the Fourth Wall was an idea you had because I didn't care to curse on America's Pop Culture. Now, first of all, let's back this up a second.
Okay.
I don't care to curse on America's Pop Culture behind the fact that I was in the wrestling business for 25 years, and Chris, you can back me up on this. As much as we're beating each other up in the ring, and sometimes we bleed, and sometimes we break things, we're not supposed to curse.
Yes,
now,
words hurt.
Panel, let me ask the panel this, okay? How many of you have actually seen wrestling? Say your name if you've seen it.
Name.
Charles. Okay, so one person out of the panel has actually seen a professional wrestling show?
You know damn right well I have. Chris.
Yes, besides you, Chris. You've been in the ring. I've been in the ring with you. All right. I lived in Miami Beach for 10 years. So. Okay, but Joe, Janice, and Nikki, you're at least familiar with professional wrestling, correct?
I know it exists. Yeah, I'm familiar with it, but I'm a bit traumatized, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
So let me ask you all a question. Does it make sense to any of you, and Chris, hold on your thought, because I know you have an opinion on this, okay? That we can go in the ring, we can bleed either accidentally or on purpose. We can break something either accidentally or on purpose. But we're not allowed to curse because that might offend a child or the parent of a child in the audience. Does that make any sense to you? in the same sentence. How can you sit there and have Fast and Furious and Death Wish and Death Wish 2 and Death Wish 3 and all these shows, that people are killing each other, but God forbid if we actually curse, or God forbid if we say naked boob, girl or guy, everybody's all up in arms. I don't understand our culture.
What do you guys rate it?
Well, first of all, I rate it nobody wants to see me at all, period. So I don't think that's what you meant. One of the females were speaking, I think.
Yes. Okay, did you forget that America was basically founded by puritanical extremists? I mean, we were the Christian ISIS. That's our foundation.
Alrighty then.
Tell us how you really feel.
The Christian ISIS is going to go right up there with the galactic hemorrhoid.
God damn it! I thought I was special.
No, it's just for you. Sorry.
No.
All right.
Set only child syndrome. Everything's got to be about me.
I think that's more along the...
Try being the oldest and saying the same thing.
Everything's your fault because you're supposed to know better.
Yeah, right?
It's the same thing we say to Europe all the time. Hey, I brought it back to politics. Sorry, go ahead.
For some reason, I went back to the Future and Trump being president. It's odd how TV and movies can actually predict the future so accurately sometimes.
Well, look, I only got one thing to say about Donald Trump being president of the United States. Simpsons did it!
Anyway, so back to the future, if you will, talking about Star Trek Discovery. Just in case anybody did not see it, whether that be panel or listeners, the Discovery was stuck in a time loop where Harry Mudd had this piece of equipment that allowed him to go back and kill Captain Orca over and over and over again. Now, it's my understanding that at the end of the day, he was supposed to deliver the Discovery to the Klingons, which there's a lot of continuity and plot holes stuff going on there. But I'm just going to skip over a whole bunch of stuff and ask the question that a lot of YouTubers were asking. Does it count as ripping something off when you're ripping off your own show? Because in Next Generation, which is the first one that comes to mind, there was a time loop episode. I know there was one in Voyager. Someone just mentioned there was one in Enterprise.
Yes.
Is it okay if Star Trek rips itself off by allowing Discovery to do a time loop episode? Charlie, I'll start with you.
Oh yeah, it's fine. I love time travel, time loop stories. They're always fun. Whenever I think of any of the shows, the first thing I think about, is travel stories, and I found this one excellent. I would say that the shows have been getting better, and this I think has been the best one yet.
Okay, cool.
It was everything that seemed to be back to kind of like what Star Trek used to be. It was funny. It was entertaining. It was intelligent, and I loved it. I love this one. I hope they keep taking things from the old shows and other shows because they worked. You don't write it word for word. I'm sure they're not going to do that because, of course, they'll have to pay royalties on anything they try to take. So but yeah, try to tell some stories that hark back to the old stuff. Use time travel, time loops. I love it.
Yeah, one of the YouTubers said he doesn't mind time travel, time loop stuff as long as they bring something new to the table. Now, I agree with that, and I think there was another hint or clue to something that we're going to talk about. But before we go there, I'll ask the same question to Joe. Joe, what do you think of? First of all, did you see the episode?
No, I missed the episode, but I will say it's worked so far for Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And as your YouTuber just said, they have been able to make it a bit fresher for each use.
Yes.
So it's a new idea of the same concept.
Okay, Janice, did you get to see the episode?
I did.
Okay, Janice, what did you think?
Well, actually, at first, when the episode started doing the time loop thing, I was like, oh no, please, no. But then, as it played out, it was actually quite entertaining and comical, and it made me realize that for consistency's sake, you probably want to have a little bit of this sprinkled through different Star Treks, because this is something that will happen periodically.
Okay, so that's interesting. So what you're saying is a time loop episode is sort of like a Star Trek staple.
Kinda.
Okay, so for any of you that are familiar with Doctor Who, that's sort of like when the new companion comes in and looks at the TARDIS for the first time and says, "It's bigger on the inside."
That's what
And
she
for
said.
some of you, yeah, I was about to say, don't go there. All right, Nikki, did you get a chance to see the episode?
I haven't had cable since 2008, so no.
But it's a whole thing. It's not on cable.
No, it's on all access.
I warned you guys beforehand, like, America's pop culture, I live under a rock. I am Patrick Star, okay? I live in a library, that's about it. However, she's a coaster.
Ice cream! Sorry.
I do have something to say on the use of time loops in general, and that is, they piss me off because it's very, very difficult to do them right. A time loop is just kind of like an undo button because nothing is really cohesive and, stands in a plot line, or let's say fans react negatively, then you can just have a time loop episode and fix everything. So that is like a cop-out that ticks me off, the fact that it's there. Second of all, it's okay within the same franchise because the way I see it, the whole question of if it's okay or not, it's kind of similar to the people who, get their tax returns and think it's, free money. No, it's already there. It's something you've earned already. So, it's within the same franchise. The question of it being okay shouldn't even exist. I just don't like time loops. I'm not a fan of those.
Okay, and for the listeners out there, you should know two things about Nikki. One is in Academy Earth, she plays our pissed off all the time character. So
Thanks for the warning, Dan.
Charles and I are the reason.
Good to know. And background. Thank you, Dan.
Well, just so you know, it's like because and it doesn't matter if we do it on air or just like I did it for shits and giggles as a conference chat via text one time, and she was still just as pissed off. So it doesn't matter what format we use, she's just our pissed off character.
Note to self, pissed off character.
It's like the voice of reason in, like, let's jump into danger and time loop characters, here's a red button, here's a black hole, let's jump in and see what happens. Well, this planet was a crystal.
Yes, there was no red button, and I can't help it if one of the first things that you heard is somebody screaming in space. You're not supposed to hear people screaming in space, so the fact that happened, I don't blame you for being a little unnerved. And you, which I think is really funny, you being the person who punched out and knocked out a over 6 foot tall grown ass man is going to be the one unnerved over the fact that somebody's screaming in space. I'm willing to bet you at some point or another somebody has screamed in space before. In fact,
Sure they have. Space can be a very raunchy place for some, I'm sure. But, yeah, generally screaming is not a good thing.
not usually, no. Especially if you're not a Russian cosmonaut from the late 50s, early 60s. Is anybody familiar with that? The young Russian cosmonaut woman who, again, I don't know if this is an actual thing. I know I've heard the audio, and I know I've heard the audio on YouTube. I've seen it, heard a lot of things on YouTube. Doesn't necessarily mean it's true. But supposedly a young cosmonaut who was in orbit in the late 50s, early 60s, which the Russians, I still don't think actually acknowledged she existed, but I actually heard audio of her pleading for them to get her the hell back down again, and she supposedly died up there. So, Nikki, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you're hoping that you don't wind up wearing the red shirt that day.
Well, Dan, you never mentioned there were red shirts in this thing. You got me tying up into.
Well, that actually became one of the issues. Was I going to assign anybody a red shirt when we actually start doing the role play officially? And Nikki was definitely afraid that she might get one. And I was like, no, it's okay. You're transport. They're orange.
A red shirt is a death sentence, but I like to live life on the dangerous side, so I'm going to go close and say I'm going to wear burgundy. Somewhere nice in the middle. Maybe it will happen, maybe it won't.
I'll wear my red shirt with
gold. I'll wear that gold because really more gold shirts died in the original series than red shirts.
Well, especially in next generation.
All the time.
And it's a horrible percentage.
Do you have the actual percentage?
It was something like 9% of red shirts that appeared on the show died, and 52% of gold shirts did.
Really?
Yep, it was because there's so much fewer gold shirts that appear. So every one of their deaths really hurts the percentage more. But when you're blowing up starships, you're taking out gold shirts.
And so somebody actually spent the time to figure out the percentage of red shirts versus gold shirts dying?
Yep, just came across my Facebook feed about 3 days ago.
Did anybody count the blue shirts, or were they the redheaded stepchild in this?
I think they were the redheaded stepchildren, maybe one or two. That'd be my guess.
Okay. Because I know a blue shirt died in the very first episode that was ever aired.
Right, but they hadn't settled in on who got which shirts then.
They were still changing colors.
If you guys recall, the first one that ever aired was the episode where actually the vampire in space. We came back to that. But this was a salt vampire, so I don't know if that still counts. The salt vampire, who was supposed to be McCoy's old girlfriend, killed the first kill ever in Star Trek. Was the guy who was wearing the blue shirt who thought that he recognized the girl from Lysa, who anybody familiar with Star Trek knows what planet Lysa's all about.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy winds up becoming a regular on one of the daytime soap operas, and actually one of the great villains of the soap opera. I don't remember the character's name, but I remember seeing him die in Star Trek and coming back in General Hospital or one of those shows. So it just goes to show you can die in one show and have a flourishing career in another one in the very next week.
Not what I would have said.
And speaking of soap operas, which nobody was but me, how about that Susan Luttrell? Talking about getting back up off the canvas. She was nominated for a Daytime Emmy 18 times. The 19th time she actually won finally.
She finally won one?
She finally won one after 19 tries.
You know what? I lost any caring about it 20 tries ago. No, congratulations to her. But
she won it. She won after 19. But anyway, so coming back around to Star Trek Discovery again, Chris Stolley. I think you were the one who brought it up first. If not, I'm happy for you to correct me. The idea that some of these characters might be from the Mirror Universe.
I'm hoping they're from the Mirror Universe. Actually, my argument was that I think it's still Kelvin Universe, even though they're trying to say Prime Timeline. But you know what? Charles, you disappointed me. You really did. With saying this is the best episode so far, because
Yeah, really.
because to me, it was quite honestly worse than the pilot. As far as character development within the Discovery crew, I did think it was a lot better. The time loop part of itself did not bother me, but what they're doing and did to Harry Mudd was just it's a disgrace. Harry Mudd is not a murderer. Harry Mudd is not a vengeful person. Harry Mudd is out for Harry Mudd and money. And he's sitting here, oh yeah, I'm selling the Discovery to the Klingons. No real explanation of how him and his little cockroach buddy got out of prison. And his whole entire thing, besides trying to figure out how to work the spore drive, is I get to kill Captain Lorca 50 some odd times in the episode. That's not Mudd. And then the resolve of it was, oh, you killed our captain 57 times until we broke the time loop and beat you. But here comes your future wife and her father-in-law, and we'll let you go and not make you face Starfleet justice for everything that you just did, as long as you promise to marry this girl and never come back. I'm sorry, it was piss poor writing, and to me a destruction of a very beloved character from the original series.
All right, Charlie, before you answer, I just want to ask Chris one question.
Yes, sir.
So that's not the Harry Mudd that you know. But by the way, Chris, thank you for a perfect segue on this. You set me up beautifully. How would you feel about that being the Harry Mudd from the Mirror Universe? Would that change your mind about the episode at all?
If it turns out to be revealed that this is all taking place in the Mirror Universe or even the Kelvin timeline, like I said before, the J.J. Abrams universe timeline, I would be a lot more forgiving of it. What makes me so critical about this series in general, and particularly like this episode, is they were adamant about this being connected to the Prime timeline. This is 10 years before the original series, and you're screwing everything up. To answer the short way to answer your question, if it turns out that this is the Mirror Universe or this is the Kelvin timeline, I think I would revisit the episodes and have a hell of a lot less of a critical eye. I think it would be better if it were taking place in these areas. But right now, as it stands, of it being the Prime timeline, no.
So I'm going to present this to the entire panel. There are 6 of us on the panel, if I did my math right. And there's been 6 episodes of Star Trek Discovery, if I did my math right. How many of you, show of hands, have noticed that there has been a reference to Captain Lorca, to the lieutenant who actually runs the spar drive? His name is escaping me at the moment. So in not this past episode, the one before that, the admiral that winds up getting captured by the Klingons says to Captain Lorca's face, "This isn't you. This isn't the Lorca I knew." Okay. So piece of evidence number one. Piece of evidence number two: the gentleman who and Chris, I'm about to curse. Be prepared. Who was an absolute dick for the first couple episodes.
Yay! Sorry.
Is all happy and clingy and like the nicest guy on the ship, the one who actually sacrificed himself to do the spore warp drive by getting and letting go of the alien creature. The young, I like to call her Cadet Tilly, the little redheaded girl who was supposedly not very comfortable talking to people, and then she winds up being the life of the party in this past episode. The Exo who's supposed to be bred to be prey, and we talked about this in the previous episode, and it makes the decision to let the creature suffer more in the past episode, and we all were like, that doesn't seem like him at all. And now we have Harry Mudd, who is at best a con man, and not a very good one, but in all three episodes of Star Trek that we saw before he was introduced into Discovery, he always played a bumbling con man who never quite got it right. And yet this guy managed to get away from the Klingons, get a device that could change time, and took great pride into murdering people and torturing them also. I present to the panel, and I want all of your opinions on this, that Star Trek Discovery, the characters in Discovery are one by one being replaced by people from the Mirror Universe. Your thoughts, alphabetical order starting with Charlie.
Your question again? I'm sorry.
My question is, my theory is that the characters in Star Trek Discovery are being replaced one by one by people from the Mirror Universe.
Oh, yeah, okay. I got it.
And what I'm presenting as why it's happening is, if you noticed, the people that are being replaced have had access to the spore drive at one point or another. That's how it's happening.
Oh. Sounds kind of like a horror movie. You end up in the pod and you get changed over.
Yes.
Everybody
I don't think pod people.
And I don't think the writers are that smart to set this all up for the Mirror Universe, to tell you the truth. I don't think it's going to go there. I don't think they're smart enough to do it. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't have any capacity, but I don't think they've thought that far ahead, or they would have thought a little better about the whole show in the first place.
I have evidence to support that might not be true, but go ahead, finish your point.
That it is or isn't the Mirror Universe?
No, just finish your point.
Oh, that pretty much is my point. I don't think they would take that way out of this whole situation they're in to say it was the Mirror Universe in the first place.
So your argument is that you don't think that they thought far ahead. Is that your only argument, that it might not be the Mirror Universe, or do you have more?
That it's not at the Mirror Universe, no.
Okay. Charlie, Chris, go ahead.
Well, again, I like your premise. I like your ideal. I really hope it kind of plays out that way. But I'm more seeing it as, if I can vamp your hypothesis here, I really think maybe it's stealing characters from the alternate timeline of the Kelvin universe. I really don't think they, like Charles said, I don't think they'll actually take from the Mirror Universe because they're not thinking that creatively, but they're going to explain off some of the incontinuities of the fact that some of the things that are happening on this show look more like the Kelvin timeline than the Prime timeline, and that's how they're going to explain how this exists in both universes, if you will.
Okay. Janice, you and I have a piece of information that I think not everybody else is aware of. Our friend Kristen.
Yeah, Kirsten.
Not Stovall, Bayer. Is that how she says it?
Yeah, Kirsten Bayer.
All right. For those of you on the panel and listening who are not aware, and I don't feel like she gets enough credit because you actually have to find her. You have to be looking for her name to find it. Okay. In the beginning credits, it says that the episode is written by somebody whose name is escaping me at the moment. But then if you look at the end credits, it says writers, and at the beginning there were 3 writers, now we're down to 2, and the name at the top of the list is the same person who happens to be a friend of Janice's, and happens to be the person who is writing, in my opinion, and it's just mine, the best of all of the Star Trek novelizations, Star Trek Voyager. Janice, pronounce her name again for me.
Kirsten Bayer.
Okay. Kristen Bayer is writing Star Trek Voyager. In my opinion, and trust me guys, you would have to read all of the novelizations like I do in order to form this opinion. She is the best of all of them because she is taking the Star Trek Voyager characters, and I've told you guys this in the past, Voyager wasn't necessarily my favorite. I grew to like it later, but not necessarily in the first initial couple of seasons. She has taken every single one of those characters and made me appreciate them even more in the novelizations than they were done in the TV series because she's been able to allow them to have more depth. She's taken them places where you thought that they would logically go after the Voyager. And for those of you who don't know, Voyager has actually gone back into the Delta Quadrant, this time on purpose, and this time with a fleet of ships with them in order to make contact and follow up on all of the different planets and civilizations they visited the first time. The reason why I like Voyager the best out of all of the different novelizations they've been doing, I think Kristen has brought more depth to her characters that she gets to play with in her circus, if you will, than any of the other writers for any of the other series. Enterprise is the original series, there's not that much you can do with that because it's already happened. Next Generation, they've gotten rid of too many of the original characters from the Next Generation for me to really care that much, and they did the same thing with Deep Space Nine. Voyager is actually staying true to the characters that they were originally introduced, and she's given them a lot of depth. She is the same person that is working on Discovery. That being said, and Janice, you knowing this, what do you think of my theory?
I think that it has potential. I don't know what they have planned because I don't have those inside stories. I just know some of the people. But it would make sense to play with that. If you do read the novels and you kind of pay attention to who the writers are and their roles or their pieces behind the scenes. So I think that it could very well happen and be that way.
Okay, so you're saying that knowing the writer of the way you do, you're saying that is a definite possibility. Because, Kristen would never write counter to what the character was originally supposed to be.
Right. Well, Kirsten is very good at, she doesn't break canon, but she isn't afraid to make it.
So, and she will use the characters to their fullest potential, their deepest depths, in ways that a lot of others don't tend to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see something like this happening.
Not to interrupt, guys, just to let you know we're at the 10-minute mark.
Okay.
Sorry, continue.
So, but yeah, I think it's a good theory. I'm not fully convinced yet, but it does lean towards it.
Okay. Joe, what did you get to? Did you say you did or didn't get to see the episode?
Not the most current, but yes on your theory.
Okay. Did you want to expound on that?
Well, there's a great Easter egg out of Jason Isaacs, barefoot, sitting in the captain's chair.
Mm-hmm.
And if you zoom in on the ship's plaque behind him, you have to go out and find a much higher quality one than I've got right now. But
Okay.
the plaque actually says ISS Discovery.
No shit.
No shit.
Yay! Dan cursed again.
Oh, and this is from the actual episode.
No, this is a publicity shot of
Right.
him sitting on the bridge, barefoot, wearing just his regular clothes.
Right.
Plaque over his right shoulder says ISS Enterprise, not USS or Discovery.
I've seen that publicity shot because I don't remember him actually seeing him barefoot on the ship ever, and I was kind of curious as to where that shot came from.
Yeah, just a publicity shot. They were doing an interview, and someone else actually caught this and zoomed up on it. So I tested it on a different photo of it, and sure enough, it looks like an eye to me.
So are you suggesting that that was a giant oops that wasn't supposed to be let out yet?
No, I think that might have just been an Easter egg to see how many of us actually noticed or paid attention.
Well done, Joe. You have, as Kirk said to Scotty one time, you've earned your pay this week.
I will send you the bill.
Which, by the way, makes absolutely no sense in the Star Trek continuity since they eradicated economics. But then reintroduced it in Star Trek Enterprise, Deep Space Nine
was
with
just
the
a tease.
platinum or whatever, gold plated platinum,
Gold press platinum.
gold press. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Nikki, I'm going to have to rephrase this question for you a little bit since you haven't watched TV since 2008. But I'm going to assume you saw the original Star Trek Mirror, Mirror, correct?
Mirror doesn't ring a bell, but yes, I've seen some of the originals.
Okay, the one where Spock has the goatee.
No.
All right. Well, Nikki, I'll break it down for you. Basically, the mirror universe that we're speaking about is the original Enterprise goes through a barrier. Well, part of the crew does anyway. That goes through a barrier where they're in a mirror, quote unquote, universe where all of the people that are nice in the Star Trek universe are bastards. There you go, three.
Okay. So it's the opposite day route. Got it.
Exactly.
Bastard don't count.
So in Academy Earth, if you went through our mirror universe, your character would actually be nice.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
By the way, Star Trek Enterprise did a Mirror Universe episode as well. I'm trying to remember if any of the other ones did one.
Yes, they captured the.
Space Nine constantly.
Yes.
Deep Space Nine had several.
Yes, on the USS Enterprise, there was a ship called the Avenger, which I was very stoked about.
But
By the way, Nikki, did you notice that I actually used your book 3 cover as my profile cover for the day?
For the day, I did not notice that, but I noticed that you had liked and shared and commented and some other things. I can't keep track of all the things that you do.
Well, that's because usually when I go on Facebook, I'm there for the day, and then I disappear for a couple, and then I'm back again. Yeah, I did Janice's artwork for one day, and then I did your book 3 cover for I think the very next day after that.
Ah, sweet. Thank you.
I do have a Star Trek Voyager question. I've been rewatching it, and I don't know, maybe I wasn't paying attention because 9 times out of 10 I have it playing on my phone from Netflix in the background as I'm working. In the, I believe it was the 5th season, where Lieutenant Paris had to spend 30 days in the brig, and he got reduced in rank to ensign.
Right.
When did he go back to being a lieutenant? And how did he earn his lieutenant rank back?
I think
He was just a really good boy for it being afterwards, so she gave it back to him.
Yeah.
No, he ended up with Janeway as 2 salamanders on that planet. They talked.
They had kids.
Is that all they did was talk? Are you sure? Didn't they leave some salamander eggs on that planet? Are there little Janeway Parises running around with that planet?
But they did explain it. I just missed it. I didn't actually. It wasn't like just something like, you know, writer's error. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. They made him an ensign, but screw it, he's a lieutenant again now.
Actually, if you want to go down that route, the security chief, not security, the transporter chief, O'Brien. O'Brien was a lieutenant originally on The Next Generation. If you look at his pips, he's a lieutenant when he's the transporter chief. And then somehow or another, out of nowhere, he becomes an actual chief. Like, you know, so a crewman, a non-commissioned officer. And I'm like, when did you change his pips, and why did you just decide out of nowhere that he was going to be a chief instead of a lieutenant? I actually can answer that later, not today since we're down to 5 minutes. And it happened with another character. I think Tuvok was originally a lieutenant commander, and then somehow mysteriously became just a lieutenant. I'm not really sure how that happened either. So there is precedent for it.
And by the way, it is 3 minutes. I was just curious because I'm like, did I just miss it, or was it just the writer turned around and forgot they made him an ensign, and they just ran with it? You know what I mean?
With 3 minutes left, since this is America's Pop Culture Magazine, is the first half of the title of this thing. Let's see how fast we can squeeze this in. Charlie, thinking quickly, give me a movie, TV show, book, or anything else having to do with America's, or just pop culture, as a recommendation, and how can we get a hold of you if people want to talk to you personally?
Let's see. Well, I'm thinking you can find me Charles Brito on Facebook or Picard the Pirate, the group. What's that movie that it's in the future and no one has cars anymore and everybody rides bikes? It's got all sorts of musical stars in it. God, that's such a pop icon movie. I can't remember it.
Do you want me to come back to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Chris, how do people reach you, and what's your movie pick of the week?
You can find me on Facebook under Christopher Michael Stolle, and of course you can find me in all things Realm of the Mist at realmofthemist.com or Realm of the Mist YouTube channel, where you will find this and many other of our quality shows, including Breaking the Fourth Wall, War of the Stars, soon to be America's Pop Culture Magazine, and of course Academy Earth. As far as Americana, you know, when I was going to do the movie pick of the week, I was originally going to say an 80s classic comedy series. So since you kind of went off on how you're going to do the picks of the week, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue with my original thought, and I'm going to say Police Academy, starring Steve Guttenberg and Michael Winslow, I believe, was the sound effects guy. Basically, it's dated as all hell, but it is the pinnacle of 80s comedy. It was so irrelevant and non politically correct, but it was hilarious in slapstick comedy. Guys, check it out.
Cool. Janice, how can people reach you if you want them to? And what's your movie, TV, or other cultural pick of the week?
Okay. You can find me online as the Lady Renegade pretty much everywhere. That's my handle, and I'm sticking to it. And my pick of the week is, and don't laugh, Star Trek Discovery, Desperate Hours, a book by David Mack.
Oh, I actually have that on my desk.
He's a great guy. So yeah, shameless plug for my friend.
That's okay.
That's the second shameless plug we've had today on shows.
Speaking of shameless plugs, Joe, it's your turn.
Hey, you can find me over at ModestoClassic.com. Joe Cahill with a C on Facebook. Modesto's Classic Comic Con on Facebook. Steve House Entertainment on Facebook. And a shameless plug for a friend of mine and a friend of yours, Dan. Since I know you've discussed the Orville on here before, let's go back to the episode here recently. One of our good friends, Rico Anderson, was on it. He was the Mo Clan doctor doing the baby thing.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So I got to get him on here with us one of these times for Talking Trek.
Sure.
Well, because he's done so many independent Trek stuff.
So what's your pick? Is it Orville?
I'd have to pick Orville.
Okay.
Yay! Real Star Trek.
Real Star Trek, Orville.
Nikki, how do people reach out to you if you want them to? And don't forget to mention your book and a shameless plug. Wait, what would be your shameless plug? A movie, TV, or other pick of the week.
All right, you can reach me by carrier pigeon or otherwise by looking up my name on Facebook, Nicole Martinson, Martin with an S-E-N at the end. My books are basically all together under the Spider Lily Chronicles. Book 1 is Ghostwalker. It will be made free at the end of this week, so hang off of buying that if that is your deal. And my pick, as far as pop culture, film, or book goes, The Princess Bride.
Yes!
So,
Oh, yeah.
Anybody want a peanut?
I'm done. Next.
The peanut dinner and.
I was just going to say Americathon. That's the one I was thinking of, by the way.
And you can reach me on Facebook, Dan Laria, DanLauria. Make sure you find the bald guy, not the one with hair from the Wonder Years. I'm the other guy. Actually, I might actually have hair, but that would be on my face, so I'm not really sure if that counts in this particular picture. You can also find me, America's Pop Culture, the archives on Radiocast FM, on YouTube via WKKH-TV. I believe we have stuff now on realmofthemist.com, Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Don't forget that this crazy crew that we call My Panel, that I call My Panel, is also going to be part of Academy Earth in about 2 months roughly now. When this show is over, we're going right into Academy Earth. Once Discovery and Orville are finished their seasons, we go right into Academy Earth. I know you're all shocked and awed. My pick, I have not finished actually reading the book that Janice recommended, nor the other book that I'm reading called Star Trek Sex by another mutual friend of ours, Will Stape. So I'm going to go other than Star Trek for a hot minute, since it was just Halloween, and this show usually comes out sometime around Christmas for some odd reason. And no, I'm not talking about It's a Wonderful Life. I'm saving that one for later. I'm going to go with The Wizard of Oz. If you've never seen it, my question to you would be, why not? Go watch The Wizard of Oz.
If I were the king of the forest, not queen, not duke, not prince.
Thank you, my little pretty and little dog, too.
As I say your name, please say goodbye for now. Charlie.
Goodbye for now.
Chris.
Goodbye for now. Yay!
Joe. No, Janice.
LLAP.
Oh, okay, goodbye for now.
Okay, Joe.
LLAP.
Okay. And Nikki. I am Dan Lara, a.k.a. DC Laurie, a.k.a. the Philly Fury, YGW, and all that other interesting wrestling stuff. This has been the hour before was Breaking the Fourth Wall. This has been America's Pop Culture Magazine, Talking Trek, and we will see and talk to you next week.
Later.
Yay.